welcome back to Behind the Cues, the podcast where we talk about backstage theatre, the magic from the audience, and sometimes we uncover the macabre chaos of the industry. Today, I'm joined by one of my favourite writers and very talented actor, James Goodall.
Hello, you're all right?
So, James, tell everyone who you are and what your background is.
Yeah, so I'm James Goodall, and I'm an actor, a writer, and a theatre maker from Liverpool. I come from a working class background. And yeah, I have a real passion for telling local stories and well, recently a lot of stories about Liverpool. Like since I moved away from home, that connection sort of like really was like solidified when I came to East 15 because I sort of almost went into myself and became really interested in like, okay, what stories can I, what stories do I know that I can bring to almost like like a southern audience that have not like experienced those types of stories or those types of characters. So yeah, I've got a real passion for local stories.
I can sort of relate because most of my writing comes from my homeland in, the Welsh valleys. So it's sometimes it's easier to write about the things you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they say, right? What you know. And I think as well, like, you moved away from home as well.
Mm.
And I do feel like when you do move away from, like, such a specific place, you gain, like, an interesting perspective. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can almost see the place for what it is.
Yeah,
But when you're there, you're almost in the midst of it. And I think it's quite an interesting thing for people who do move away from home they do gain this, like, perspective and can see things from the outside that maybe
yeah,
people who are inside of it can't really see.
yeah. I agree. So obviously we graduated the same year, didn't we? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last year.
How did you find working at East 15?
I loved it. I really did. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the first year was quite a struggle for me. I was actually going to leave in December the first year because the first term, it was such a change for me. Like prior to coming to East 15, I'd worked for 4 years in Costa. So I'd just like sort of lived a normal life. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously I was doing like theatre in Liverpool, but I think the transition, like I was a 22-year-old coming into like quite a young environment and like all the things that everyone else was experiencing now, I'd almost already experienced as an 18-year-old. And yeah, my parents, because at East 15 you have a parent, Alexander, I spoke to him and I was like, Alex, like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think it's for me, this and that. And he was like, no, just persevere and you'll be okay. And yeah, I persevered and it was great. It was
Yeah.
great. I had a really good time. And like being at East, I sort of really like came into myself as an artist and sort of discovered like what I was really interested in and what stories I wanted to tell, and also looked at things from like a different perspective and did some things that I was not really interested in but learned a lot from, and did things that I was like, oh my god, this is me.
Yeah.
um
You could sort of see that development from second year into third, from like all the shows that obviously we worked on together. That it was like
yeah,
you could see your sort of mind, sort of the cogs turning in your mind, and where to go next.
yeah. And I also feel like because you experiment so much specifically on the contemporary theatre course, you do like begin to tell stories in a different way
Yeah,
than you'd originally intended them to be. And like I think that exposure is good because you can sort of like steal things from maybe like expressionism, which it wasn't really my thing as such, but there's lots of bits that I stole from that I've used like later on.
so talking about later on, what current projects are you working on?
I'm currently working on Ernie, which is a one-man mask show with live Foley. So it's just me on stage and there's two Foley artists. But at the moment there was only one for our last showing. And it's a show about a docker in 1960s Liverpool, and he has a massive heart attack. So he has this underlying health issue that he's not really like, went to the doctors about. He's sort of like pushed down and then eventually has a heart attack. But he wakes up in hospital and realizes he almost needs to change his life.
Hmm.
And the show sort of explores that, like what things were actually available for people, like working class men at that time. And sort of that choice that I think a lot of people choose, like men specifically, they'll push their health aside for like earning money and providing for the family. But the story was actually inspired by my great granddad, who was a docker. His name is Ernie. And yeah, the story actually came from my nan was telling me about her dad. And she was like, oh yeah. And like he passed away on the docks. And I was like, oh, how? And she was like, yeah, well, he got off he finished his like whatever he was doing. I can't remember what that was. And then stepped off and literally had just a heart attack straight away. And he passed away there and then.
Gosh.
Yeah, so I wanted to explore like what would have happened if he lived, and sort of that's what Ernie was. And yeah, I sort of nipped it in the bud after he's 15 for a while because of sort of that transition. I'm sure you found it yourself from like being at East 15 to being in like the working world.
Yeah.
You've sort of got to like get a bit of financial stability and then begin to play. So we recently did a scratch night at the Unity Theatre,
Mm.
which is a theatre in Liverpool. And they've got like a real passion for like working class stories. And like the origin of the theatre actually is it was a workers' theatre in Liverpool. It was set up by dockers, people who worked in like manual jobs like factories and stuff like that. And they'd come together on a Saturday and just make theatre.
Oh,
Yeah, really
amazing.
interesting place. So yeah, that's currently what I'm working on now. And it's sort of, yeah, we're trying to develop it into a bigger show because at the moment it's only like 15 minutes long. It was initially 27 minutes, but we've sort of like, for the scratch, we had to cut it down to 15.
Yeah.
So the intention is to expand it to like a 45, 50-minute show, almost so that it's like, it's more marketable then for the theatre.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Like working on that show in like I know I was so stressed when when I was working on the show because I was technical stage manager and it was sort of my first time running sound and lights and stuff. But I'm so proud of what you made and it like to be part of like sort of the origin before it came out of East 15. It was just like it was so magical and honestly, I think it is one of my favorite shows I've ever seen, worked on, everything. The story just brings out so much that, like, if you think about it, you can sort of relate to it in some way, whether that's being like a man and you're working through your problems, or you've got a granddad who is, a worker, because that's what I envisioned was my granddad. Um, he wasn't a doctor, but he was like, handyman, worked all
Yeah.
of his life right up to like 60 years old. So it was like, you know, it rang true to me. Yeah.
I think as well, that's what's so special about Mask is that like, and something that I recently discovered with Mask is that like, you're telling the story with Mask, but inevitably Mask is almost like a painting because it's a lot of still images. You inevitably, like the audience, put their own story into it, which
Yeah.
is something that's like, it really like, it's made me think about the show in a very different way because obviously I'm telling my story, but a lot of people have put their own story into it, which is just like quite a magical experience, especially when you
Yeah.
think about like other forms of theatre, which are like a scripted piece is most likely gonna everyone's gonna go on the same journey, and like with Mask, everyone is going on the same journey, but everyone's seeing a different thing because
Yeah.
of their history, their own experience, what they're currently going through. And like when I went to Liverpool to do it, that was one of the biggest revelations was that like everyone I spoke to afterwards had a really different like sort of experienced the show in a similar way, but saw different things.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think that's such like a magical thing for everyone to almost feel a personal connection to it.
Yeah. With a mask show, obviously there's no words. So it all comes from body, language, expressionist, like I don't know, movement, but also the foley that happens is just like it brings everything together. And I think that's what lets people bring their own stories into it because they're not being told what to say. They're not being told what is said. so they can sort of imagine in their head what they want is being said, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah, I do. I get that. I think echoing what you're saying is it's so true that like people do, but like it's almost a freedom in mask that you can for the audience as well that you can just impose what you think it is, and because it's not too complex either. Like I think we all in life we all generally like read how people look, how they behave. So I think mask is almost a mirror of that. Like we were almost reading what the mask is doing, but we're interpreting it in a different way.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So apart from Ernie, do you have anything else in the works, or is it just Ernie you're focused on?
at the moment, it's just Ernie. Obviously, I wrote a play last year, Grafters. Grafters is sort of sitting on the shelf at the moment, as
Yeah,
I'm sort of. It's trying to find a balance between being creative and earning money
yeah.
at
Always
the
is.
moment. Yeah, I mean, I write all the time. I'm consistently writing. But apart from Ernie, at the moment, nothing's really in the works because the Ernie team is quite a small team.
Yeah,
So it's quite easy to organise, like getting together and putting things on. Like we've got something coming up in October with Ernie. It's not officially announced yet, and I'm not going to say what it is, but yes, Ernie will return in October in London.
can they? Is there a page that they can, like, the listeners can follow to see the journey of what Ernie is taking?
Yeah, so I recently launched the company and it's called Tales from Round Oz. And the company's sort of pioneers local stories, not just from Liverpool. And I'm sort of leading that. And yeah, that's where you can follow the story for any, and especially for the company, like it's going to be a real focus on telling local stories.
Hmm.
So from all over the world. And yeah, like finding other people who are in a similar disciplinary where they're interested in telling local stories from
Yeah,
where they're from. Because a lot of my friends are that's the type of stories they tell. There's like I've got a friend from Wales, Beth. Little shout out. She writes a lot of stuff set in North Wales.
okay.
And her work's a lot to do with like the water and sisters and relationships. And I think that like that passion for local stories is sort of shared amongst like these people I'm friends with.
Yeah. Um, I I don't want to, like, sort of take over from you, but I might have a script that you might be interested in.
Okay.
It's called Valley Soil. It's
Yeah.
about this group of friends, and one of them ends their life at the start of the play, and then it's about these friends sort of discovering each other and finding journals from this person who's passed away, and it's sort of like self discovery, finding out why this person did what they did. And it's just about like Valley's community and this like tiny little shed in the middle of an allotment you know, high up in the valleys. It's quite a dark show. Trying to add some comedy into it, but
Mm,
it's quite difficult when you don't write comedy.
yeah. It sounds gorgeous though. Like it sounds like a really nice
Yeah.
story. Where did that come from?
So I had a small group of friends when I was younger, and it's sort of the original story comes from that, but I've added in the suicide to sort of bring something more to it. And my uncles, my cousins always had an allotment on a street, and I sort of like, what if someone used that as like a local community sort of mingling spot? But yeah, that's sort of where it came from, really. So, is there any particular productions apart from Ernie that you've seen or know of that are going on at the moment that you want to shout out?
Well, I know that people from my year group know them ensemble, which was a group that formed whilst I was in my third year. I was a member, but after East 15, I left and
Yeah,
sort of wanted to pursue my own thing.
yeah,
I know that a group of people are going to Edinburgh Fringe with a show called Pews at 10. So I'd like to give them
yeah.
a
I
shout
know
out
it well.
for the Valley Girls. Wishing them all the best. I'm not sure what dates they're on at the Fringe, but I think that, yeah, I'd like to give them a shout out. And also, a friend of mine, Dan, is launching a theatre at a local pub in Loughton, which is in Essex. It's
Okay.
just on the Central Line. There's a pub called the Gardener's Arms, and they've got a back room there. And Dan is launched the theatre now, and there's going to be a show on the 22nd of June. It's called Father Thames. So yeah, shout out to Dan and Holly. They've opened that theatre.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what else is on at the moment, but yeah, those.
Yeah, I've been following Pews at 10 for, well, since I worked on the show
Mm.
with Nia, Matty, Bud. It's just, yeah, it's a great show, and I agree. Do you have any advice for someone who's going into the industry to do what you're currently doing?
So are we talking like a younger person or an older person or sort of anyone?
So someone who's literally just looking at unis, going into further education.
Yeah, well, I would really recommend drama school. East 15 was great for me. I think not being afraid to try new things. I'd
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
say that. Like, throw yourself into everything. Like, I think in this industry, the only way you find out you're not into something is by trying it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
obviously, you have your boundaries. Like, there's things I won't do, even though I haven't tried it. But I
yeah,
think being quite open to things and like what makes you like nervous or scared is probably good, and you'll grow from it. And I think being nice, being open to people,
yeah,
everyone's come from very different places in this industry and everyone's got a different story. You don't know their story. Yeah, I think forming friendships and collaborating with people, helping people out when you can, definitely.
hmm,
Um, And yeah, like, if you go to a drama school and you do a course and maybe you find halfway through it's not for you, like not being afraid to like look somewhere else or do something else.
yeah,
Like nothing's final. And I think just getting involved in as much as you can, going to as many like classes if you can, obviously if time allows it, and going to theatre. Like, especially if you're gonna move to London, like there's so much theatre and like there's theatre for everything and for everyone. And the stuff that like I've seen like at Soho where you're more likely to see something quite like experimental that I wouldn't
yeah,
have seen otherwise. And I think watching stuff that maybe you wouldn't initially watch is good for you because you just learn so much from like watching
yeah,
good things, watching bad things. You're gonna learn either way. But yeah, I think just being open to it all and like not
yeah,
closed off and not being afraid, I think, to bring what you know to the table
of
because
course, yeah,
everyone's different, and if you might bring something that you might feel like you're not as informed as everyone else, but I think that inevitably your story is personal and it holds a lot of weight and gravity. So
yeah,
I'd suggest
yeah.
that.
I know there's going to be louder and more like bigger characters in any space that you join, especially in uni because uni is full of people from all different backgrounds. But I think you sort of got to match their level sometimes to sort of be seen, but don't be scared of jumping into that and making yourself a little bit bigger just so your story is also heard. I agree with you. You just need to experience more. You need to sort of put things out there that you're scared to.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that was definitely my experience at East 15 was that when I initially went, especially I'd even say like the first 2 years, was sort of very not reserved, but like not as open as it could have been. But I
Hmm.
just think it was a defense mechanism, and then definitely in that third year, I just like came into my element.
Yeah. I
Um,
think it's the same for me because I was sort of coasting for the first 2 years. Again, I was going to drop out in the October of first
yeah,
year. I was like, this is too full on. Nobody is like making an effort to be friends with me. But the more I sort of relaxed and got into it, I found that you do sort of find friends in the most peculiar of places. But yeah, third year was also the same for me, where I sort of found my element, and then I became friends with a lot of the contemporary theatre course and also the BA acting course as well. And I would just wish I just sort of took that step a little bit sooner. just to be involved with everyone else. But I think that's another part of being like a mature student, is that it's quite difficult to make friends as someone who's older than majority of the people who are in uni.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think as well, like for me, it was that, and also background. Like, I only when I moved away from Liverpool did I realize like Liverpool is such a bubble,
Hmm.
and that when I came down south, like people were so different, and for a while, it really threw me off for a while to get used to the culture down here and how people interact, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's still, even now to this day, like I'm still getting used to it. I'm more comfortable, obviously, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think that it's just getting used to a different culture.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Especially East, like something I really found out was like when I was at the Everyman as a kid. The Everyman was like proper, like like the directors and the teachers there were quite like arm around the shoulder type people.
yeah, yeah,
And they were off. They were like, they were creative and artful and stuff, but they weren't like arty like you get at drama school. So
yeah,
I think that when I interacted with the teachers at drama school, I don't know. I think while I was at Easter, sort of was a bit lost at like how to interact with them. When you'd
hmm,
come from a culture like the Everyman that was like quite arm around the shoulder, like they knew a lot about who you were as a person. Whereas I think at East, it was a lot to do with developing just your artistic side,
yeah,
which was a sort of a thing that threw me off while I was at East. But inevitably, I understood that, like, these practitioners are doing other things outside of this, and it's a job
yeah.
and stuff. Um, so yeah, I think, I don't know what the point for that was, but yeah, it's sort of like a cultural shift, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
which I imagine you've probably felt as well.
Yeah, I like obviously things are very different in Wales compared to what they are in England, to be fair. Like a lot of people didn't get my jokes, didn't get the where I was coming from, and I was being called a sheep shagger most of the time.
Wow.
Um and also the tutors would sort of not make fun of the accent, but sort of like try and make a joke out of the accent, which it did sort of get me down a little bit, but then in the end, I was like, "Do you know what? I am Welsh. Screw you. Let me just, make this joke about everything, not just about me."
Yeah,
So
and
I,
also
I sort
being
of,
Welsh is your superpower.
yeah, exactly. Same as you, being from Liverpool. There's so many stories that come from up that way. Not just in theatre, but like outside of theatre. And part of Grafters was showing what the dark side of Liverpool is like. And then you've got Ernie, which sort of shows like the lighter side of things, what it used to be like.
Mm.
And I think finding those stories is just, yeah, and trying to sort of connect, like you said before, like connect into your hometown is just your superpower. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean, I think even if you look into the industry, at like, you know, a lot of people who've like excelled a lot are telling stories from where they're from. I mean,
Yeah.
Michaela Cole, for instance, like I made the story, not I made the story, sorry, chewing gum. Her first piece was all about her growing up on like an estate in London, like, and it was just so easy, like it was so specific, but it was so like accessible to watch and understand, and I just think that bringing local stories from where you're from, it's just it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like it's almost like going on you can go on holiday for an hour and not leave the venue.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. One of the first plays that I saw before I moved up to London, which was in London, I can't remember what theatre it was in. It was called On Bear Ridge.
Mm.
And it had a ton of Welsh actors in it. And what I got from it was that the Welsh language is dying out, and there's this family's living in the mountains, and then this English person comes and sort of throws a spanner in the works. And just like it wasn't a story per se from Wales, but I saw Wales in it because of all the Welsh actors, and knowing that the language from Wales is dying out is, yeah. And it's probably about North Wales, but a lot of people from South Wales that have watched it as well have said that, yeah, it's pretty. like strong down here as well. Like nobody seems to speak Welsh anymore.
Mm.
But the more west you go, it's like that's where they speak Welsh.
There's less like cities and stuff like that, isn't there, in the West?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
sort of you loads in the coast, and then the further inland you go, it's sort of like huts in the middle of hills. That
Okay,
that's
wow.
that's basically rural Wales. Is just cottages in the middle of nowhere. What is your biggest pet peeve of theatre?
Do you mean like watching theatre or like being in the room and making it?
Anything, anything.
I give you both. I think pet peeve in the room is people just not being friendly,
Hmm.
like not being, open to other ideas or people. Like when I went to the Unity, I don't know, some of the other groups that were there were just, I don't know, quite closed off and like were doing their own warm up and like, I don't know, you go over and you're like, "Oh, you're okay," and like, I don't know if they just felt awkward or whatever, but I think that's definitely something that like, we're all in it together at the end of the day for theatre.
Yeah.
And then watching theatre, I hate pieces where they just don't think about the story.
Mm.
When it's all like, "I'm gonna tell you this. This is how you should think if you're a good person." Like, I'd rather watch something that's more in the grey zone, that's
Hmm.
like allows the audience to make the decision themselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think inevitably theatre is for the audience. Like they decide if it's good or not.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that a way of ensuring that it's good is that there's a story,
Yeah.
especially if you want to cross like age barrier, class barrier, race barrier. I think
Hmm.
having a story, inevitably, all humans are linked and can understand story. So if you've got a
Yeah.
story, everyone can sort of get in the car and go on the ride. But I
Yeah.
think if you're trying to like nail down like political things, it just sort of, it almost sometimes can feel like you're being lectured.
Hmm.
Whereas I think like, throughout history, we've always learned like lessons from stories,
Yeah.
you know. So I'd say that, to be
I
honest.
think I think I think that's what I like about Gecko. You know Gecko, the production
Yeah.
company. Um, that they sort of take small stories from bigger writers, but just the way they tell them is very expressionate, and people can sort of take away what they want from it sometimes. Telling a story rather than saying what's written, like show us what you mean rather than saying what you mean.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that like people will inevitably be more open to understanding what you're saying if it's through
Mhm.
narrative rather than being like the character being like, this is how it is.
Yeah,
Um I
yeah,
think the theme definitely resonates more than like pointing fingers and being like, this is how it is. It's almost like that, traditional thing of moral of the story.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. And I think it's partly through like character development and doing research into like if you're I don't know, if you're a southerner playing someone from up north, then it's very different culture from north to south. So like you need to do that research of how people up north like live compared to south, and it's just you can only tell the story if you've sort of experienced what that is. If you've experienced the culture and the shift, and yeah.
No, I agree. And I think, like, in my practice in general, research is such a massive part of it. Like,
Hmm.
when I wrote Grafters, I was consistently listening to podcasts about, like, the topic of, like, gang grooming. I
Hmm.
was reading articles, I was reading books, watching films. And I just think that obviously this is just a personal thing, but doing the research, it informs your imagination a lot more and
Yeah,
expands
yeah,
it. And like I am a big advocate for like reading around the topic for anything you do, whether that's an acting role, whether you're writing or whether you're devising a show, I think just expanding your imagination with the things around that topic. Just when you're in the room and you're making it, you're already in that world.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't know what else to ask. Have you got any questions for me?
Have I got any questions for you? Yeah, what type of work have you been doing recently,
Oh,
artistically wise?
I've been here, there, and everywhere.
Oh, really?
I started working in a scenic workshop called CTS, the Cardiff
Wow.
Theatrical Services. Um, Before I graduated, actually, that was my placement in March of last year, and I've sort of been there freelancing on and off. But currently, I work in a hotel, so I'm just trying to fund anything that I'm doing by that, to be fair. And I'm sort of still writing, I'm still sort of researching and developing Valley Soil mostly. And I'm trying to push my other play, which is a one man play, but it's called Innicisium, and it's about like a gay man who's living in the 80s and he's saying goodbye to like all these like friends from an intimate friend group and saying how they died. And yeah, it's just a story about a memorial night, basically. So I'm trying to push that, trying to find people to help me perform it somewhere. I don't know where. Um, there was a talk of it being put on a radio this month, but I haven't heard anything back from it. So I doubt that's going to happen. But yeah, that's where I am. I'm sort of always on the lookout for new material to start writing,
Yeah.
but I need to do it in my spare time and I don't have much of it. So
Yeah, it is a real balance, isn't it? Of like, you know,
yeah,
living and surviving, but also being able to like be creatively fulfilled until like the
yeah,
creative job can almost become the main job.
yeah, of course.
Um,
I have been like really enjoying the things that have been released lately, like on the BBC and Channel 4. There's like some really gritty, strong, like drama coming out at the moment, like Tiptoe. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but
I haven't, but I'm gonna
crazy
watch
story.
it.
Um, yeah, do be prepared though. It is very dark.
Heavy,
It
I've
gets very
heard.
dark. Um, yeah, very, very. And then there's something that I'm watching at the moment, which is called Half Man.
What's that
About
like?
two stepbrothers. I'm enjoying it. I think the story is, because we're only on the third episode at the moment, but the story is developing, and my mind's going like all different directions because I don't know what's going to happen. But the acting in it is just like phenomenal, and I've been gripped to the TV. I've been like, I've cried, I've laughed. It's just one of those series which is like, I don't know, you're just in it. When you start watching it, you're just in it because you're in it for the story and like what's unfolding and sort of the thrill of what's going to happen in the end.
And it's Richard Gadd, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Well, I've been a lover of Richard Gadd since Baby Reindeer because I really enjoyed that
Yeah.
series as well. Um, but it's sort of, it is kind of like the structure of it is very Baby Reindeer.
Okay.
However, totally different storyline. So it's a lot of like flashbacks and then coming back to modern day and then back to flashback.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a mix.
I actually heard that he wrote Half Man before Baby Reindeer went into production. Like he'd written it, and that
Oh,
was going
did
to be
he?
the one
Did
that
he?
he released first. But then Baby Reindeer,
Yeah.
like someone bought Baby Reindeer, I think maybe Netflix,
Hmm.
and then he
Yeah.
pursued that, and then Half Man sort of lived on the shelf for a while.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. So
So I think it's interesting maybe that he'd almost developed Half Man first, and then
yeah, yeah.
what the links are. Maybe Half Man looks like you can
Mm,
see like the beginnings of Baby Reindeer and that. I don't know. I'll have to watch it.
yeah, yeah. I do. It's really good. And there's a couple more series that are coming out later this month, which I'm like, they're on my list already to watch. Um,
What's that?
I don't know. I can't remember the names of them, but
Yeah.
they're all mostly Channel 4. And Channel 4 is popping off right now.
It's coming back.
Like all the goods. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that nothing's going to Netflix though. I like
Mm,
everything being on Channel 4 because it means that it's not going to get Americanized, and it's going to be like proper British drama and grit.
yeah, I know
I have
exactly
been
what you mean.
enjoying Harlan Coben's stuff though. The stuff on Netflix. Just go back to Netflix, but I have been enjoying that stuff. Um,
I haven't seen that.
like all the it's Harlan Coben books. Really talented writer. It's just like each book is is a series.
Okay.
Um, Close to You is like the first one I watched, and then there's Stranger. Uh, there's loads. There's loads. Close to You has Ruth Jones in it, so hats off to a Welsh
Big
actor.
up.
Yeah, but check them out. Harlan Coben on Netflix, and there's a whole collection of episodes and series.
Okay, yeah, I'll have a look.
Okay, so where can people find you to get updates on projects and all that stuff?
So they can follow me on Instagram at Tales from Around Oz.
Stunning,
Yeah.
amazing. Have you got anything that you've wanted to say but haven't got around to say it in this podcast yet?
I think one of the questions that I was interested in, what made you go into the arts? If you want to go
Oh
into
yes,
that,
yeah. If you
I
want
mean,
to tell me
do
how
you
you
want to
got
ask
into
it,
the arts,
or do you want me to just like? Does it need
so
to be
James,
edited or what?
so James, how did you get into the arts?
Well, for me, I think that when I was in school, I was just you know what? I think a lot of creative people are like this. I was just so disinterested. Like
Yeah.
school just didn't interest me, and like yeah, I was always a bit of a class clown, like always making jokes, always trying to play funny characters. And then I went into drama in secondary school, and I was
Hmm.
like, "Oof, like, I like this. These people are like me. They want to like just get up on the stage and be funny and this and that." So I think that definitely doing drama at school was a big turning point. But I think just like at home, my dad was like massively into films, and like
Hmm.
every Friday he'd be like, "Right, we're watching this film," and like he didn't understand age or anything. Like if it was an
Yeah.
18, I'd be watching it. It didn't matter, and I really think that like like watching a lot of like classic films with him definitely informed my imagination, and I was like, yeah, like this is what I want to do. I want to make like tell stories and make films and this and that. And like I remember actually when I was in like a big turning point for me was I liked drama, but I didn't like GCSE drama was sort of a lot of devising and like making stuff that wasn't
Yeah.
like um I don't know, like I think I thought theatre was musical. That was it. I didn't
Hmm.
think I understood
Yeah.
that there was plays. And like a massive turning point for me was like in my GCSE piece when I was in year 11, the teacher, Mrs. Dalton, she was like a woman who had like a massive influence on me as a person.
Hmm.
It's probably the reason I'm doing this today. She came in and she was like, "Right, boys," because she really like when I was in like year 8 or 9, she was like, "You're good at this. You should pursue drama." And I was like, "Okay." So I did it for GCSE, and then when we got to our final piece, she came in and was like, "Right, you boys are gonna do this," and it was Harold Pinter's The Caretaker. And like
Love that.
literally, I know, like my best mate at the time, my best mate and still my best mate Jack, he played the old man in it, and like it was a real turning point for me because I read it and I was like, oh my god, like these people are speaking like people I know. These people are
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
It's set in one room. Like, what's going on? And then from there, then I was sort of like, this is definitely something I want to do. And then obviously, like, I pursued it at A level, and then from A level, then I joined the Everyman Youth Theatre, and that was just like, yeah,
Hmm.
that's when everything just went, and I was like, wow, like you can do this for a career. Um, Especially because
Yeah.
like the directors at the Everyman lived in the same area as me, so I was like, oh my god, like they live in a similar house in a similar area and are doing that for a career.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think specifically if you're from like a working class background, having someone that you can like identify with is so
Hmm.
important, especially in theatre, because I think sometimes theatre can be seen as quite like an elitist thing. But like
Yeah.
seeing that the directors would like get the same bus home as me and like they were being paid to be there, even though I was just like, I was a kid and I was just doing it there. I think that was a massive turning point for going into the arts, like
Yeah.
seeing someone that was like me. And I think Stephen Graham as well, I think is a big one for
Hmm.
everyone from Liverpool. Like seeing that accent on the telly, you're like, oh, okay, if he can do it, then I can. I don't know if you
Hmm.
felt a similar thing.
Sort of, yeah. I also come from working class background, but the way I got into theatre was through Fame Factory, which was kind of like just a musical theatre company for like kids. I got taught by Lucy Jones, massive person in theatre at the moment before she got big. But that again was for sort of elitists, and it was like people had to pay a lot of money to go there, and I'm thankful for my parents to like put me into that. But it just seemed like they were pushing the people who had money instead of the people who were there for like to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I had no friends there. And then I found the Savoy Theatre in Toneravel, where I met so many amazing people, and it's part of the reason why I went to East 15, because Hannah Campana, who used to be a tutor at East 15, she used to be the head of stage management, like business. So you had Alex Purser, who was like top dog, and then Hannah was like below him. Um, and she was like, "You need to go to East 15. That's the place that you need to be." So I was like, "Okay, let me just go to college first." And again, I found all my people there coming from all walks of life, but mostly working class. And I sort of found my people there, and I'm still friends with a lot of them now. But East 15 is where I fully got to unleash what I've been like holding in for a long time. That's where I started developing my writing and seeing writers like you and Bud and Neo and Izzy, like everybody sort of combined was like, I can actually do this. And that's part of like in October of when I started, like 2022, I was like, am I in the wrong course? Should I be on an acting course instead of stage management? Um, but I was like, no, I'm going to stick with stage management. At least then I'll have the background of what it takes to put on a show,
Hmm.
um, while also working with directors and writers like yourself. And yeah, I sort of found my family and friends in East 15, which is very different to a lot of people because a lot of people go there, they leave, and then they don't look back. Like I'm not saying East 15 was a great time in my life, but I did find people that I genuinely love and would love to work with in the future at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. I think that any experience like that is always dead mixed. You sort
Hmm.
of you find bits that you really, really like and bits that you don't like. And I think it's just such like for me it was like a a bubble. You went into this little bubble
Hmm. Yeah.
where everyone was cooking and then everyone's let out again. And it was like, whoa, okay. Like that happened.
Yeah.
And I think that in the bubble, like things that wouldn't happen in the real world. Like
Hmm.
there was almost a different set of rules, a different way of being, a different
Yeah.
mindset, which I think is when you talk to people about drama school who haven't been, they're always like, "What the fuck?" Aren't I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I don't know if you've
agree.
experienced that, but
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
They're always like, "What the fuck?" Because like
Yeah.
none of my mates do that. Like one of my mates is an architect, the other one works as a welder, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, we were doing this on like we were in the forest on a Tuesday pretending to be animals," and he's like, "What the fuck?" Like.
it's the same. Like when I talk to my partner about doing theatre, and he's like,
Yeah.
"So what does that entail?" And I'm like, "You wouldn't understand. I
Yeah.
like as much as I can explain it to you, you will not understand what it's about at all."
Yeah.
And anytime we go to the theatre, he's always asking, "So what does that mean? What's that like for? Where do people go when they do the stage?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, I can show you, but it's going to be hard to explain."
Yeah. It's the magic, innit?
Yeah, yeah. And like some people get it, some people don't. Like my cousin Greg, he's much older than me. He's like 50, but he started off as playing buttons in one of our pantos in the Savoy Theatre. And now he's toured with Strictly as a costume
Wow.
assistant. And it's like he's sort of come to the dark side, and now he understands what goes on backstage as well as on stage. And it's good to see that. And I wish all non-theatre people could experience something like backstage, or I don't know, something that will like sort of introduce them to the world of theatre more, because they just see it as, oh yeah, it's just people prancing around the stage saying lines.
Yeah.
But it's much more than that. There's so much that goes into it, like at least 4 weeks before the production actually goes on stage. And most of the time, much further back than that. Can take like up to 6 months to get a proper show on the road.
No, I agree, and I think that, like, backstage just doesn't get spoken about enough,
Mhm.
and, like, I didn't realize, to be honest, how much like, it's you're like, people who are backstage are performing as well, 'cause it's so much stress, like, to
Yeah.
make sure everything's in the right place, the lights are working, this and this and this, like, everyone is almost like, the people are seeing the actors on the stage, but it's the actors on the stage are still just doing a role, as
Mhm.
well as the people backstage who are doing a role, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think it is important.
I think that's what I liked about the contemporary theatre course at East 15 as well, because it sort of taught you guys how to be your own stage manager, because obviously you didn't get as much support until final year. So any little shows that you were doing in between was like unsupported by the stage management team by us basically. So you sort of just had to find your own way how to do things. And then in third year, you actually sort of worked with us and sort of realized, oh, okay, that's how it is.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's good as well, like, especially for you, you said that, like, obviously when you got to East 15, you weren't sure whether you should have done an acting course or not.
Hmm.
I think that, like, just how I think in this day and age, being multidisciplinary, like, being able to do everything is so good,
Yeah,
because obviously you're doing your writing now, but also you've been doing you've trained for 3 years how to backstage basically
yeah, yeah.
and production, so
I'm working like when I got into second year, I was like, okay, now I'm going to be a director. So then I was going to do my master's in directing. But I was like, do you know what? I feel like I could direct, but I I would leave it to someone else to do it for me, because I like telling the story rather than making someone tell the story. So I either write or I act or do the
yeah.
background bits. So that's why I'm now doing my masters in September in costume, so I can tell my story through clothing and that way rather than
Oh, I didn't realise you were doing a master's.
yes, yes.
Wow, brilliant. Where's that?
Royal Welsh College in Cardiff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And is it 2
So
years or what?
2 years. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So
Wow.
all the designers that we worked with at East, they all came from either Royal Welsh or RADA. So it's like
Mhm.
it's a tie up between those two, and I chose Royal Welsh.
Yeah. Are you staying at home then?
Yes, yeah. We just moved
Okay,
house, so
nice.
it's getting used to this house as well.
Okay, perfect. Wow. Well, best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Sounds brilliant. I can't wait to see some of your pieces that you make.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be good.
I know it will. I know it.
Yeah, I think that's all my questions, really.
Great. Yeah,
That's
I've had a lovely time.
good, good. So, you have been listening to Behind the Cues, the podcast where we delve into theatre, magic, and everything backstage too. We've had James on today. He's been an amazing guest, as always. But if you want to check when this podcast is going to be released, head over to my page, Tom Does Theatre. I update everything on there, Instagram and TikTok, by the way. But yeah, make sure to check out Tales from Round Ours on Instagram as well. And we shall see you in the next episode.
See you later, La.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.